I am so gutted. You know, I nearly didn't do this review today. I just couldn't quite face it. But I'm so disappointed with that result. It's not so much the result, in fact, it's the application and the determination from the players. It was totally unacceptable today. And we got it massively wrong. Of course, Brighton deserve credit. And I promise you, I will come on to discussing that. But everything today just went so wrong. And I was thinking about how we got to this point. And I honestly think that our business in the summer has to be the worst business that has ever been conducted by a football club. We spent £500 million and we basically have managed to not improve. We genuinely have managed to spend £500 million and we are no better than we were before we spent that money. It's an incredible achievement if you think of it. It's actually impossible. It should be impossible to stand still and spend that amount of money. It actually beggars belief. It is so frustrating. But look, it's a triumphant day for Brighton. And for them, this happened in cinematic style, didn't it? Everything that they could have possibly dreamed of happened today. This has to be a landmark, pivotal moment for that club. You know, they got an emphatic win in front of a home crowd that were incredibly up for it against their former manager, their first of the new manager's tenure. This is the stuff dreams are made of from their perspective. And they've done it against Chelsea. And Chelsea have been, using Brighton a bit. They've become our feeder club. It's almost as if Todd Bowley's dream of this network of football clubs has started already. And Brighton are part of our network because we have raided them time and time again. But from Brighton's perspective, they'll be looking at it going, this is what you're missing out on, Graham, because they were so much better than us today. And from our perspective, I think this loss really should give us food for thought. I think we got so much wrong. And I think the easiest thing to do is talk about the sloppy mistakes in defence. But for me, that really doesn't tell the story. It's so much deeper than that. There are so many more deeper lying problems at Chelsea than simply making an error at the back. I mean, at the very most, that makes up half the story. Thiago Silva giving the ball away and not playing his best. Yeah, that's worthy of conversation, but it's an anomaly. There is a bigger fault line lying through Chelsea Football Club at the moment, and that is what we need to talk about. I mean, the lack of sharpness up front is a problem. The lack of drive and movement and cohesion up front is a massive problem. And Kai Havertz in particular needs to have his role examined. I know that people get the hump if you start criticising Kai Havertz, and I know that he sort of half found a bit of form on his scale, but he just isn't that guy. He just isn't good enough. And he isn't the only one. If we explore where this is going wrong for Chelsea, there are other contenders. But Kai Havertz, for me, is hugely at the epicenter of everything wrong with Chelsea because he will never be the player that we need him to be. Yeah, he can have a good day. Yes, he can score a beautiful goal. Yes, there is clearly talent there. But he will not be the player that we are desperate for him to be. And therefore, it is time to cut our losses with him. Occasionally, he'll pop up and score a beautiful goal, as he did the other day, whipping it gorgeously, left foot in. Yeah, sensational. And he can do that, but he can't do it time and time again. The geezer is averaging 6 goals a season. It's just not good enough. And then we've had problems there, and we've managed to spend all this money and haven't improved. Think about the players as individuals. We just haven't managed to improve. Wesley Fofana, we can park. There's a different conversation there. So he's not quite part of this. But with virtually everybody else, we don't need to suspend judgment anymore. Kalidou Koulibaly, nowhere near as good as Antonio Rudiger. I don't like Antonio Rudiger. I don't like the way he conducted himself at Chelsea towards the end of his time there. But as a defender, there were times where he was impenetrable. There were times where he was that immense presence at centre-half. There were times where he was absolutely unplayable. And our European Cup victory owes a lot to him. Incomparable to Koulibaly. Absolutely incomparable. Signing Marc Cucurella. What on earth were we doing? We paid exorbitant prices. We were competing against ourselves. Manchester City were no longer in for Marc Cucurella. We were effectively bidding against ourselves. We had a bidding war for Cucurella against ourselves, pointlessly, for a player that is looking so shoddy. Think about his contribution to Chelsea lately. Villa, he went off, didn't he? Manchester United, he went off, and he's the worst player on the pitch today. What are we doing? Whatever you think of him. And I think it's appalling that some people think that he could do a job for us in place of Ben Chilwell. I just think that's an appalling paradigm to be part of. There is no way that he is comparable to Ben Chilwell. But he also isn't good enough to play that left centre half. He's all over the place. And Brighton were laughing their head off at him today. It was an awful afternoon for him. And you've got to remember, we paid 62 million quid for him. And today, he was exposed time and time again by his old team system. If anybody in that Chelsea back line should be aware of what Brighton are going to try and do, surely it's him. Surely he should be aware of it. And look, their fans were booing him. You know, he's their reigning player of the year, isn't he? But their fans were booing him every time he touched the ball. In fact, they should have been cheering him. He was integral to their win. He was putting a brilliant performance for them today. He was at the heart of everything that was going wrong for Chelsea. So how are we going to get out of this? I don't know. But like I said in the top of this video, there is a fault line because there are so many players that are clearly not good enough. And how we rectify it, I don't know. Christian Pulisic, I mean, today was an opportunity for him. Look, I don't think he's good enough. I've made it clear that I don't want Christian Pulisic anywhere near the club, and I think it's time for him to move on. But he was given his first consecutive start of the season, and he had that opportunity of playing a sort of hybrid right wing back, right wing position. But he's so wasteful in front of goal. That chance that he had around 10 minutes. How doesn't he score that? It is unforgivable not to score that. At this level, when you have an opportunity like that, when the game is going as it is going, by the way, when Chelsea are up against it, backs against the wall, we are being cut open, and he gets it on a plate like that, and he doesn't score. It's just appalling. And, you know, every single time that Brighton had a good move, it seemed to be Christian Pulisic not quite doing his thing. It was their third goal, wasn't it, when Caicedo played it through? I don't know. But, yeah, I just don't know. I really don't. And today, it's sort of a historic day. Brighton have never beaten Chelsea in the league before. And let's be fair, they were breathtaking. They were clinical. They controlled the game. They kept us at bay with ease. And Potter made his moves from the touchline, but ultimately couldn't find any success. And look, I love Potter. I really do. I'm so happy that he's a Chelsea manager. I think he's the right man for the job, and I think he's a brave, astute, long-term appointment that I'm fully behind. But it feels like an error to me. You know, if you play this wing-back system, it's a great system. And Chelsea are very fortunate that we have the players that can play that to the very highest level. If we have Ben Chilwell and Reece James on song, Chelsea's wing-backs are comparable to the very best in the world. And when we have those players playing in fine form, we can do almost anything. Chilwell parading down that left wing in front of the West Stand when we attack the North Stand. It's an amazing sight. Scoring goals, creating goals, rounding the keeper in European context. Reece James, elite, truly elite. But when we don't have those players available, we have to amend the system. It is criminal to try and play that system and ask Christian Pulisic or Raheem Sterling, whatever it is, to play there. It just feels so foolish. To play that system, you obviously need bona fide fullbacks, top-tier fullbacks. And I'm worried now. I'm truly worried for this system. We were awful today, and we've been awful in the league for a long time. That performance against Manchester United was obviously not good enough. That performance today against a Brighton team that were obviously going to be up for it was clearly not good enough. And we play Arsenal next. And look at what's going on around us. We're 2-0 down today, and what happens? We get slapped up 4-1 at Brighton. Tottenham are 2-0 down today. What happens? Bentancur, last minute thing. Can't say I'm much looking forward to playing Arsenal next week. I tell you that one for free. Sad times, man. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. But we were the architects of our own downfall. And like I say, it's easy to talk about our own goal from Ruben or the dodgy performance from Silva, but it's worse than that. The fault line, the crack at going through Chelsea's squad. It isn't about individual errors in weird anomaly moments. It's about rectifying an underperforming squad that doesn't have the ability that is needed throughout. Oh, terrible, terrible day at the office. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I'd really appreciate it if you would give this video a like. Please click subscribe.